And we are back. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Channel 135 podcast. This is the show we talk about our favorite things in life, movies, TV series, and pop culture. My name is Cams. I'm here for the brothers. We've got coming out of our rugby union podcast, the Counter Ruck. We've got also Stace. What's up, man?
What's up, Bulls? Thanks for having me on again.
Good to have you on, brother. And all the way from the 135 Footy Show, our NRL podcast, we've got the also Bob. What's up, also?
How's it, brothers? Aloha to our Hawaiian family out there.
Aloha and mahalo to everyone out there. Especially to everyone making comments on our YouTube channel, because, man, we're loving them, We're loving all the feedback from the Hawaiians that are commenting, giving us some fact checking and all that kind of stuff. It's been really educational and a good thing to read up on, every episode we do. So shout outs to all you guys that are making comments. Yeah, man, let's start. Just a little, how's your week? How's your week been, Stace?
Yeah, mine's been good. I've been back into the swing of things, just busy with work. And so I haven't jumped on as much pods as I would like. But, yeah, hopefully back into it. I had a bloody tooth infection, so I had to get a tooth pulled out. So I couldn't talk properly for a couple of weeks, which is another reason why I haven't been on the pod. So if I start slurring, it's not just the drinks, it's the tooth pain coming through again. So thanks, boys.
So how much money did you spend on your tooth? Because, if you watch the episode on Chief of War, the episode when Kiowa takes his tooth out, was that episode in help?
Man, I'll tell you what, if you've had a tooth pulled out and you watch that scene, that really hits differently. So, yeah, that was quite a painful watch, but, man, just watching when he went through. But, yeah, it's expensive. That's why I've sort of been neglecting the dentistry. But, it's a crucial part of your general health and well-being. So I've got to be a bit more better with my teeth these days. Going to get one set.
Yeah, that's right. Bob, how about you, man? How's your week been, bro?
It's been busy looking after sick kids, bro. Bit of the flu going around the family, so yeah, that sort of hit our household, and then the wild ass weather we've had in the last few days. I've been going around picking up all these fallen down trees and branches and shit around the property. So yeah, it's been busy. We had an unveiling in the weekend, so that was sad, but it was a really cool headstone. It was for my daughter's partner's grandmother, so we were out Clevedon for that over the weekend. So yeah, shout out to old Big Nan, Celia, we called her Big Nan, the kid's grandmother. So yeah, that was cool. But cool to be back on this pod. I've been on a few of them in the last week, so reviewing the TV series. Missed out on the 135 last week, but we'll try and be back on with Tons and the boys this week.
Nice. Yeah, man, this Channel 135, we've been busy, man, and because we've been reviewing 3 series in a week. So this one, we're going to do Chief of War. So for you guys tuning in, we're going to review Chief of War episode 6 that dropped on Friday. We're also reviewing Alien Earth that drops on Wednesday on Disney Plus. So we're reviewing that sci-fi TV series, and we're doing Peacemaker that drops on Friday, season 2 of Peacemaker as well. So yeah, man, busy pod, Channel 135. So, but man, I'm just thinking about, because I'm in all these episodes, right? So I'm just thinking about how different these TV series are right now. Like, you got Chief of War, and for me, when I come home from work on a Friday, I sit on my couch, I turn on the TV, ready to watch the latest Chief of War. I'm like really excited, right? I'm excited. I know it's going to be a fun watch. It's going to be entertaining watch in terms of the history and all that kind of stuff. The Game of Thrones stuff that's going on in the islands and that. Compare that to how I feel when I sit in front of the TV on Wednesday to watch Alien Earth. And it's like less fun. It's less fun because it's sort of like a daunting series to watch because it's dark and it's mysterious and it's a horror flick, right? It's horror. And it's just not fun at all compared to, it's entertaining. It's not fun. But if you're into the dark side of sci-fi and the Alien franchise, you're going to get what you're going to get, right? So, you actually got to be in a sort of like a space in your head to sit down to watch Alien Earth. And I think a lot of people have, if you're a real science fiction fan, you'll love Alien Earth. And I think it's for those fans, right? So, yeah, and then compare that to how I feel when I sit down on a Friday to not only watch Chief of War, but to watch DC's Peacemaker. But that is a lot of fun. It's a superhero flick that's like got a lot of violence. It's got a lot of sex. It's like, if you're into like the program The Boys that's on Prime, it's similar tone to that, right? And it's a lot of fun. So yeah, man. So I'm a bit of on a roller coaster all week when I'm watching each of these TV series there, man. So it's Monday and we're here on the podcast talking about Chief of War. And yeah, it's gonna be a good chat. Just do some housekeeping stuff. So you can find the channel 135 on our socials. We're on the WesWes Movies and TV on Instagram, TikTok, and also on our YouTube channel, WesWes Movies and TV. We're also part of the WesWes Network, so you can check out the WesWes Network on the socials, also on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and also on our website, weswesnet.com. You can find all our articles and our links to all our podcasts there as well. Spoiler alert, if you guys haven't seen the episode Chief of War, episode 6, stop this podcast right now, go on Apple Plus and watch it, and then come back and turn us on. You'll hear us break down the episodes. Here we go.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Episode 6, The Splintered Paddle, directed by Brian Andrew Mendoza, written by Thomas Sabet, Jason Momoa, and Doug Young. Kamehameha discovers that the food storage huts in Koala have been destroyed, an offensive widely blamed on his cousin. A divide emerges between those advocating immediate retaliation and those urging diplomacy. Kiana is convinced that Keola's actions warrant war and fears that acting otherwise would play into imminent threats, especially from King Kahekili of Maui. In contrast, Kuhupoi, alongside Kaimanu, agrees peace is still viable. Kuhupoi, being both Kamehameha's cousin and a former chiefess of Keoa's lands, volunteers to negotiate a truce. Kamehameha entrusts Hupoi and reluctantly Kiana to meet Keoa in his domain. During the tense exchange, Keoa refuses her peace offerings. He dismisses the symbolic white stone and rejects unity, choosing instead personal ambition over reconciliation. Understanding he can't match Kamehameha on his own, Keoa secretly seeks an alliance with King Kahekili. He pleads for military aid, agreeing to support Maui's interest in return. Meanwhile, Kahekili's rule is revealed to be volatile. His aggressive actions and cruelty are causing unrest among his own people, with some chiefs looking to his son as a potential successor. In response to the unrest and impending threat, Kamehameha institutes a landmark decree, the Law of Splintered Paddle. This new law prohibits killing except in self-defense and extends protection to all, even foes like Keoa. Meanwhile, a ship appears on the island shores as Marley and Captain Metcalf look to come ashore. And that was your Channel 155 recap. Start with you, Stace. Man, how'd you like this episode?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good episode overall. I mean, I thought it was a highly emotional episode as well. So a lot of the stuff you touched on in your breakdown there. But it just marks a good change from all the violence and action that was seen previously. But if you think at the end of last week, right, so where Keoa, he burns the food stores, I was really interested to see the response this week. And it marks sort of a powerful turning point in the story. So rather than escalating the cycle of violence that we've seen throughout the show already, Kamehameha, he surprises both, I guess, his allies and rivals by declaring that law, the Splintered Paddle, which you talked about earlier. So this acts sort of, it sets compassion and justice as guiding principles of his style of leadership, and that directly challenges the expectation that strength is proven only through war. And we get to see the reaction on both sides of that decision. So we see the tension between vengeance that the men want in the council and sort of restraint, and we see the role of law in unifying that the fractured society that Hawaii's become, and just the rising voices of women and shaping that political part of it. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good to see Humanu and Kapohi's presence in the council, and that sort of signals change. We're seeing changes in the military with the new guns, but now this is sort of changing, cultural change as well. And that push for diplomacy, which you talked about, that's a massive shift in sort of how power can be used and what they bring to the table as well into that council. They bring wisdom and persuasion and care for their people. So I thought that the episode did a good job of showing that. But despite all of that and the potential cause of peace, the episode never lets us forget that there's that looming danger. So Kiowa, he just rejects that peace outright. He forges his allegiance with Kaikili, and that sort of sows the seeds for potential conflict down the line in upcoming episode. And there's also the danger of that new ship that on the horizon at the end of the show there. So the potential danger that colonization can bring. So I enjoyed the episode. I felt a lot of admiration for Kamehameha, his vision, his willingness to imagine sort of a more humane way of ruling beyond just endless wars and conquest. But alongside that admiration, there's that unease in the sense that peace is potentially fragile and it's going to be tested. We'll see the ambition of some of the other people and betrayal and probably a lot of wars. So I really enjoyed the episode as a whole.
Nice. Because, you touched on something that I remember you saying about last one of the episodes previous. You talked about how there might be a reunion between Uncle Bully and
that was the beers talking that time.
Jake the Muss. So it looks like the predictions come true, man.
Yeah.
That,
I wondered why no one commented me in you need to follow up on your history, you don't know what you're talking about. But it just happened to play out how it did.
Yeah, I thought the episode was okay. It progressed a lot of the stuff that's sort of been lingering in the last few episodes. So they fully closed off all that stuff that's happening in Zamboanga for Jason Momoa. Now he's back in Hawaii. Now we want to see what's now going to happen. My biggest gripe, which I've already talked about before, is that it takes like one episode for Jason Momoa to come all the way from where he was to back to Hawaii. And so we're thinking, man, why hasn't Kahikili already come over and done all this stuff? And then you sort of think, well, they haven't really sort of explained what's happening with Kahikili. And so we finally go back to where he is in Maui to see what he's been up to. And it looks like he's just sort of sitting around, when you thought suddenly this guy was all gung-ho, trying to conquer everything by fear, killing everyone, and now he's gonna just resting on his laurels, like he's just sort of sitting there. Yeah, everything that Stace said, 100% agree with him. My biggest takeaway from this was the influence of the women. Like Stace sort of touched on that a little bit earlier, but you've got Kupuahi, you've got Kahumanu with their influence in Kamehameha's council. You've got Kupuahi, who's like cousins with Keoa, and so she's trying to negotiate a really peaceful way of Kamehameha and Keoa coming together so that they can unite to fight off Kahikili. You've got Keoa's mother, who's this massive influence on him, telling him, hey, you know what? You should take your whole navy and go over to Kahikili and get him to support you to take out Kamehameha. You've got that influence. And then you've got Heke, who's always been sort of like a minor female character. Now she's asking Nahi to teach her how to fight, so there's that. And then she takes him down with like an armbar. And I was like, this episode sort of highlighted a real shift for me in how I view the ladies of the show. Like they've kind of just been sort of background characters, but episode 6 kind of really brought to the fore. They might not be the most powerful, but their voices have a real presence in who they influence. So you've got Kamehameha, they influence there a lot. You've got Keoa, they've got some sort of influence because Jason Momoa's allowed to go there and meet him face to face, and sort of them both walking away because they're family. So yeah, I thought the ladies, Keoa's mum, this episode highlighted the real influence that the women have, and it hasn't been sort of shown. It's been sort of hinted at in previous episodes, but it's sort of come to the fore heaps in episode 6, where you can see that even though the men are the warriors in the front, but you've got these voices that are, sort of chattering away, that are really influencing the men that are going to be the big decision makers in this battle. All except for Kahikili, he's just surrounded by dudes, and that guy's just his own voice. He doesn't need anyone else. I like the fact that there's now this sort of friction happening in the Kahikili camp. Everyone's sort of looking to his son, Kupule, now, and they're sort of, hey, people aren't liking the way that your dad's interpreting the prophecy. They bring the prophecy talk back, and then that whole thing sort of talks about, maybe you should be the leader of us. And then it's funny because prophecy, go back to Cliff Curtis's Kewa, and he's like, I don't give a damn about prophecy. I don't care. You can take your prophecy anywhere, but you just leave us Hawaiians alone. I just need some of your soldiers, and then we'll go back. And that whole sort of scene playing out, you talked about how you really like those mafia type family sort of stories, and it kind of seemed that way, one Don to another Don going to us for, hey man, you need to send me some boys, and then we'll go and we'll whack that guy back over there. And then this Don secretly, yeah man, send the boys over, but send the assassin guy. So once you finish up taking him out Kamehameha, then you whack him too, and then you take the island. So that scene where Kupule, the son, goes to ask whoever that dude was, can't remember his name, that Tim's character, Kahikili, tells him, go tell him to go lead the warriors. Yeah. And then he turns around and goes, oh yeah, your dad's still sending real men out to do jobs that you can't do. And he goes, nah, he said for you to go and help. You need to go help Kiwa. Yeah, that's what he's told you. But he wants me to go over there, help him. And then Fasioki, the guy. So, he's reading between the lines. It's like, yeah, you're not the real man. I'm the real man. And so that's an interesting dynamic too. He's got some crazy-ass warriors on his side, Kahikili, so I can see why Hawaii needs to unite, because if he was to come over, man, he'd probably slaughter them all. Interesting sort of twists having Kewa come over and ask for Kahikili's help. All of this sort of stuff happening, it's going to set it all up for big grand finales in the last sort of 3 episodes. So interesting to see what the whole thing's going to play out, because even Jason Momoa pointing his gun at Kewa didn't sort of scare him off. He's like, nah, man. We defeated Cook when he came with all of his guns. We could do it again. Yeah, but we had the God of War then. You don't have the God of War now, so you might lose our sons. That's why you need to go and ask Kahikili. So, yeah, the big thing for me was the ladies and the influence that they have, and how it comes to the fore in this episode. So that was my biggest takeaway from episode 6. And then Marley coming towards the end, I was thinking, this fool. Somebody please give that guy a good Hawaiian ending, man. That guy needs to end in a bad way. And I hope it happens soon.
Yeah. So my take out of all these characters now, like, for me, each of these characters are strong in terms of what they want for themselves and each of their goals. They've got this goal in mind, and they won't stray from getting to that goal, right? Unless they're convinced otherwise, and they're only convinced otherwise through experience. And with Kiana's case, he needed to go around the world to come back and have a different idea of what should happen. So he's all about uniting the whole island against the incoming colonization, right? So that's his goal. And he believes that the only way to do that, to unite the whole islands, is for war to happen. So you can have war and just try and knock out everyone that does not agree with what he thinks everyone should align with, right? And then you've got the other characters, like the other chiefs, that their goal is power or rule, or be the top dog out of everybody. So there's nothing to stray them away from that idea as well. When you talk about Kahikili, his son can't even convince him otherwise, so he's stuck in his goal. So everyone's stuck in their goals, and I guess that's why we're gonna have a confrontation all at the end, right? And then the one left standing is the one that's gonna move Hawaii forward towards where they are now. So that was my biggest take on all the characters at the moment. Oh. How about you, Stace? Any takes on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's everyone's sort of stuck in their own ways. That you can see that most of the people, there's a lot of self-interest at play. So how that all plays out, there's the bigger threat, which is probably the colonization, which Ka'iana has seen firsthand what that looks like and how ruthless they can be when it was over in whatever that place was, or I can't remember what the name of that place was. But so you can see the desperation from where he's coming from as well. He's trying to say, hey, look, if we got to start a war to get us united, then that's what we'll do. We'll wipe out whoever is on our team, because there's a bigger threat at play. And he's probably the only one who can realize that. But you're right. Everyone is sort of stuck in their own stories, and that's all going to come to a head. So I like how they arranged the pieces in this episode, because, like Bob mentioned, how that all unfolds in the next sort of 3 episodes, that's going to be really interesting. So yeah, agree with that take.
Yeah, the beginning when we see Keoa burn his dad's hat, man. To me, that was a strong scene. Eh? That was like, man, this guy, man, he's going handy on his hopes and dreams, eh, man. To burn his dad's hat and saying that, man, that's all gone in the past. I'm the new future.
Like they talk about Hawaii being fractured, but there's in all 3 camps. So you got Kamehameha's camp, Keoa's camp, Kahekili's camp. Like all 3 of those dudes have got all of these. They're not unified in any sort of way. Like Keoa's got all of his council of chiefs saying, "Nah, man, we ain't going to support you because Kamehameha's got the god of war." You've got Kamehameha who just wants peace. He's like, "Hey, man, why can't we all just get along?" And all of his chiefs are like, "Sale, we got the god of war. We need to unite because Kahekili's going to come." Even Jason Momoa's pushing that agenda. And then you got Kahekili who's like, "I'm the chosen one. I'm the prophesied one." And absolutely blind to the fact that underneath him, they might be scared of him, but they're all talking like, "Sale, this ain't the prophecy. This guy's trying to erase royal bloodlines, man. It's not right." And so now even his own son's now going, "Sale, Dad, you sure? Are you sure about that?" And he's like, there's all this friction in all 3 camps. So yeah, it's not like anyone's ready to sort of take out anyone else. They've all got this internal dynamics they got to sort out. And that's all got to play out too. Like, never mind the battles with each other. It's all the internal stuff that still hasn't been sorted. So it'll be good to see how that all plays out.
Yeah. Then you got the Balangis who come back on shore.
Yeah.
And then it's funny to see, so when we're going to do the sandalwood deal. Wait, we're gonna have a war first. wait. And he's like, "Oh man, I hope you're still alive after the war. Yeah. We need you, man." So business is business when it comes to them, man. Like, so a lot of the scenes of this episode are meetings, occur in meetings. So I guess the biggest one here is when Keoa goes to visit Kahekili, and that whole scene right there, man, because he took a risk, to go there. And it looks like he revealed something important to Kahekili, that Hawaii is divided. So that's all he wanted to know, man. Now he can and then he can set something up.
That was sort of a pact that was born of mutual ambition rather than, genuine loyalty to each other. And we've seen in the past, with Kahekili, he can be quite unpredictable and untrustworthy he betrayed his own chiefs. And we see in early episodes he manipulated sort of Ka'iana around the prophecy and all the rest of it. So this political opportunism that's presented itself to Kahekili with, Hawaii being divided, I can only see that potentially ending badly for Keoa and potentially for Hawaii. But I like I think that the fact that Kahekili sent that dude, that unhinged guy, to sort it out, that underscores the risk of siding with sort of a violent opportunist like Kahekili, because those alliances can unravel quite quickly, and they can have devastating consequences. So I'm really interested to see how that unfolds, because from Kahekili's side, you think, it's really manipulation cloaked as alliance, because he has every reason to keep Hawaii divided. That probably serves his cause a bit better. And I had a look on YouTube. There's these sort of 10-minute short stories around some of the characters, and I watched this one around Kahekili. So historically, this rings quite true. So he was one of Kamehameha's greatest rivals, but he was known as a shrewd opportunist, known for exploiting divisions in Hawaii Island whenever, Kamehameha was occupied with other stuff. So while the show, it sort of dramatizes a formal pact between Kioa and Kahekili, the dynamic, it reflects reality a lot, because there are a lot of ambitious chiefs, as you mentioned earlier, Cams, everyone sort of on their own path and their own goals, and they often leaned on some of these external guys to try to destabilize their rivals. And those allegiances, there was just really marriages of convenience, and unfortunately, a lot of them ended in bloodshed. So when we watch Kioa aligning with Kahekili, it's not just a plot device for the show. It's just really a sort of a chilling reminder of how the internal fracture opened the door for outside forces to shape Hawaii's destiny. So I'll give a shout out to Tim Weta, because he really captures the opportunistic essence of Kahekili in his portrayal of the character. So he's really awesome in the show. One of our best ever actors, in my opinion. So yeah, shout out to him.
Yeah, I wonder if Kioa has a backup plan, because it's obvious that is a good plan, that he has to go and team up with Kahekili if he wants to take over Hawaii. But then does he know he has to deal with him too? Does he know that he has to deal with the guys from Maui as well? Like, just in case they do a double cross? Does he even know that? Like, he has to know that, right? He has to. Or is his blindness, is his power hungry blinding him from that? He just knows he needs to team up with Kahekili to get the job done, but does he even know that there might be a double cross? And we see that there is, right? We see that there is. So, yeah. It's like,
we see this in movies all the time. It's like, when has the enemy of my enemy is my friend ever worked out? Like, it's like, it always comes back to bite you in the ass when you side with, is it keep your friends closer, keep your enemies. Friends close, enemies closer. But he's gonna have his enemy coming up behind him with one of those big Hawaiian clubs. He's gonna cut his head open as soon as they take out Kamehameha, what they're planning. He's blinded by his own sort of jealousy of being overlooked by his dad. And that's a massive thing, because then you bring it back to that scene at the beginning that you pointed out, Cam, where he's trying to create his own legacy for Hawaii and not trying to protect the Hawaii that his dad had built up. He's like, no, I'm going to create my own sort of legacy. That's why I'm burning, and that's very symbolic. Like, it's like, I can feel the pressure of his mana on my shoulders. It's like, man, I'm burning all of that away, and I'm going to create my own path. And so suddenly, this guy, he's going against everything that his ancestors sort of ever stood for, and he's trying to forge ahead in his own sort of pathway to uniting Hawaii, he thinks, but it's still going to end badly.
Just trying to understand Kiowa's mindset a little bit. That's quite crucial as well. So he's proud and he feels slighted because, he didn't receive the God of War. He's fiercely protective of tradition. No one's ever lost a battle while holding the God of War. So he's essentially fighting from a position of weakness. And this is where historically it lines up a bit better as well. When leaders, they feel excluded or humiliated. When Kupohi offers peace, that can sometimes feel like submission. So for Kioa, accepting terms might have meant, erasing his own claims and stuff. So instead, he gambles and he says, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type mentality. And yeah, we'll see how that unfolds. I think we've got a little glimpse when Tim Weta says, send the craziest guy we got over there and just let him unleash.
So that dude, man, he looks crazy. He looks like
he was cast really well.
Yeah,
He was, yeah.
you can tell he's going to be like a handful for Kiana, like if those two meet. But yeah, you touched on Stace, the influence of the woman in this episode. It was both you guys, like touched on that because also you can add in Kioa as well, his mum telling them to go across the waters and team up. So woman influence here. So I wonder, who's going to be successful out of these women who have told their sons or their their husbands some little advice. See what goes on. But yeah, that was interesting. There's also Kaikili's son. His sort of story arc has changed a bit, Like he's like the son, proud to be the son, but doesn't agree with what his dad's doing. Now there's a plot line we see in this episode where the guy he was sleeping with, he said he's going to go back to Maui and get some support for him to take over as king. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we see this a lot, like we talked about mob movies and all the rest of it. There's a real timeless dynamic here because when the leader he grows tyrannical, whispers among the powerful often shift towards the heir. So he might offer a bit more stability and more compassionate rule. So I know the son Kupule, he's got that inner conflict between doing the right thing by his bloodline, his dad, or doing the right thing by his people. So I think that's been a real key theme in Chief of War. Power isn't just won or lost on the battlefield, because otherwise, Kaikili would be the one that everyone backs. But it's also those quiet spaces where people are talking and all the rest of it. So how that plays out, that's going to be really interesting, because I know that son, he's going to be more and more conflicted in what's best for his people compared to what's best between being loyal to his dad, because they're starting to get the idea, the people and the son, that this isn't really the prophecy. This is just his dad going a bit batshit here. So.
I guess when he's compared to Kahekili, he's probably more likable than Tim. Tim's so super intense in his role that any sort of anti-Tim is probably going to get more support, because you always got to root for the good guy in these sort of situations. But that partner of his, like, do you guys remember Braveheart? That scene where the king comes back from battle and then his son, who's got the advisor with him, and then he's like, Your Highness, this is so-and-so who's excellent at being an advisor in battle and blah, blah, blah. Oh, please tell me, what are your thoughts? What should I do? Yes, sire, you should come. Oh, yes, please come. Well, and then he throws him out the window.
Yeah.
Guy dies. Like, that's what I was thinking about when Kupule is talking with him, and that guy's like, you should stand up to your dad. You should be the one to take him. Man, I got flashbacks of Braveheart with that guy's partner took to him, trying to speak. So you should speak up to your dad. And I was thinking, suddenly, stay away from Tim, bro. He's gonna chop your head open, and then when we go back to that scene where Kupula's going back to his dad and he's playing with that really cute looking melee, and he's like that dog, and Tim's got. I was like, Sully, that's a really good-looking dog for in the islands. You'd think they'd look like underfed, they'd look like bones, but it looked like one of those fancy sort of Japanese dogs that had all this fur. And he's like, yes, he's petting it like this, and he's yes, barbecue it with some coconuts, coconut cream.
Delicious.
I cracked up when he's in there. He's like, yes, tasty. Please prepare it like that. That scene was cracking me up. But yeah, like, just with what Stace said, like, man, there's no way that anyone who sort of comes to Tim now, even if it is his son, that Tim will ever sort of give them the light of day to have an opposite opinion to him. Like, he's the chosen one. I'm the chief of lightning, or whatever it is that he calls himself. And for anyone to sort of question him, man, his son went there thinking, I'm going to talk to my dad, only to see those two chiefs of Maui hung up is crazy. He had to kill him. He's like, Sully, shut up, man, before he hears you, and then I get in trouble too. So it's a difficult space for those guys operating around Kahekili, even for his son. His son might be a likable character now because he's starting to have doubts and second thoughts about his dad carrying out his prophecy in the way that he's going about it, losing actual support. People might be too scared to say it, but his base of support in Maui is actually like, oh no, this is not the tahi, bro. We're not about erasing the royal bloodlines. It's like we want to unify Hawaii, as the prophecy sort of said, but this ain't it. So, Tim's got a massive sort of problem if people in enough numbers sort of get the courage to face against him. Then that'll be an issue for him. But at the moment, man, his fear and his mana just controlling by fear is too much. Like, he's way too intense and too powerful for anyone to sort of stand up against him. So, yeah, good luck to them.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that scene, I thought when he went to see his dad, I thought if there was any chance that Kahekili would kill his own son for speaking against them, it puts to rest when he says that line when Kahekili says, "You remind me of your mother. I miss her so much." So that line right there, that I think that puts his son into a place where he's a woman. He reminds him of his wife, his ex-wife that passed away. So he's in that level way. Like, they're just there. They're just there to put aside your bloodline, and that's it. So what was another thing? Oh yeah, with Kamehameha. How do you guys think of him now? Because he's the gentle giant sort of guy. He's all about peace. But man, is that enough? Because I'm not convinced now. I'm not convinced he's like the guy. Like, if you're the guy just for advocating peace all the time, you're gonna get rolled over. That's how I feel. But what do you guys feel like with his character at the moment? Like, he's sort of gone against everything what everyone said. Even Kiana, I think he knows the way to go. Like, he wants to have war to unite Hawaii, and I think that's the only way to do it, because we see what Kahekili is, we see what Cousin is as well. Like, you can't change their minds. So in a way, Kiana is right with what he wants to do, and he's having trouble convincing Kamehameha that thing. So does that make Kamehameha make his decisions a bit weak at the moment? What do you think, Stace?
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I know that it's a bit different to what they've always historically done. You think that if someone wronged you like that, burnt your food and all the rest of it, your food storage, straight away you just go and have a fight. So they've been warring factions for generations and all the rest of it. So I think he's trying to change that. And that was one of the themes of the episode this week, that sort of modern styles against sort of traditional bits. I listened to Cliff Curtis. So he got interviewed and he was talking about sort of this clash of ideals. So he had this sort of interesting take, talking about his own character, Keoa. So he said that Keoa is not a villain per se, but he just embodies the fierce defense of tradition. So he's really antagonistic towards foreign influence and modernization. So, the god of war has historically been passed to the next in line, which is him. So he's upset that didn't happen this time. And we've seen him at some of his, in the episode, he mocks Ka'iana for wearing pants and using guns, as these aren't traditional Hawaiian ways. And those are the traits that Cliff Curtis has emphasized in portraying him on the show. But you think about Kamehameha, he seems a lot more open towards modern styles. So I think that's where it's going to get interesting. The traditionalists, and you can see it in his own council. The men are always like, we always just fight in these situations. Let's just go to war like we always do. And it feels like Kamehameha's more willing to embrace modern and different ways of thinking. You can even see that in his council with having these women, which you talked about earlier, Bob, in his council, having his ears. So I don't know how it's going to play out. You want peace, but there's a guy who's right in your village who's basically trying to kill you, and Keoa. You've got a guy on the other island, and Kahekili, who's trying to kill you as well. And then you've got these white people coming in. So this peaceful approach with threats on every side. How that's going to play out is going to be quite interesting. So, I mean, as it stands now, I respect that he's at least trying to be peaceful, because it sounds, by the sound of things, without knowing the history of Hawaii, it sounds like they've been warring for a long time, which is where the prophecy is really holding a lot of weight, because it feels like a lot of people are waiting for unity amongst their people. So I think that's sort of where he's coming from as well.
Your thoughts on Kamehameha, Bob?
Yeah, I don't see it as weak. I find it interesting. Like, the series is called Chief of War, so you know that the series is about Jason Momoa, but you know how movies have like a main guy, and you might have like a secondary sort of main guy. There's so many main guys right now in Chief of War that it's like, well, it's not just Jason Momoa, it's not just his character, it's Kamehameha, it's him, it's Keua, it's Kahekili, and then you've got all of these sort of just underneath them characters. You got Moku, like the dad, all the different Guyana's brothers. You've got Bule, like Kahekili's son. Geua's chiefs around. Well, he doesn't really sort of have anyone that stands out. They're sort of the same, but then his mum, I suppose, is the one that's in his ear. But you've got all of these main guys that are showing that they could be the one, And if you didn't know anything about Hawaiian history, you probably would think that Kamehameha's stance isn't as aggressive, isn't as overt as some of these other guys who are openly wanting to go and start wars. Like even Moku, who's in Kamehameha's council, he's been advocating for war hard out, and then now you've got Kaiana, who's on his council. He's kind of saying, Solo, we need to take care of your cousin before we can try and unite Hawaii to go against Kahekili. Like, the series is called Chief of War, so everyone's wanting to war except for Kamehameha, who's Chief of Peace. It's like, so you're going against the name of the show. So from that perspective, I guess you could say, it comes across weak because the TV show is called Chief of War, and he's the only one sort of advocating for peace, being supported by the ladies who are super strong ladies. Like, I don't think there's been a weak lady character on the show. Like Vi, she was strong over in Philippines. You had the what was she, the tohunga, that Taula, she was this like powerful ass priestess that she was a strong character. Kupohia and her sister Heke, like they're strong, like they can fight. Kahumanu, like she's strong as well, and like they haven't had any sort of main female characters that have been like secondary or just everyone's been quite prominent out of the female leads. But yeah, it's interesting because everyone's sort of geared up around they just need to fight. I mean, the only way to peace is through war. The series called Chief of War, we need to go and just fussy some people and bloodshed everywhere, and then we'll sort it out. And whoever's left standing is going to be the ones to face the Palangis that are coming. Colonization is just around the corner. But Kamehameha is the only one that has that foresight, that vision that Stace talks about, where he's envisioning a better future for Hawaii, one that we're not killing each other, one that we're, breaking that cycle that Stace talks about of, my galo hut's been burnt down, retaliate, and then they'll retaliate back. And so they will plan a time for next month to retaliate after you retaliate. It's a different way of thinking, and I think that's why, lots of those chiefs that are in his council are like, so what? Why is there this delay? Why aren't we going already to try and get our own back after our supplies have just been burnt down? They're probably trying to question, what's going on? Why aren't we going back? But then he comes out with the law of the splintered paddle, which is what the episode's called. And he talks about how, I went to that village and then he cracked my head open, but then I realized, of course, they're just protecting themselves. I'm an enemy. They see me as an enemy, so I've got no right to just go over there. And so that's why this law here, unless your life is in danger, you're not allowed to attack anyone. So he brings that law in that then offers protection to even his cousin. So he's got a really like next level way of thinking, because everyone is still stuck in this really fight survival mode type thinking in the islands, which was in every island. But Kamehameha's got this super advanced way of thinking where he's thinking about more than just, no, we can't just be about war. If I want to unify Hawaii, it's got to be peaceful. I want people to go around and just plant kalo and fish all day. Like, these are things that we've seen him do in the last sort of couple of episodes. And it removes him even from Jason Momoa's character, and Jason Momoa's the main guy, right? So he's removed now from people like Jason Momoa, people like Moku and his council, people like Kamehameha, Keoa, Kahekili. I mean, sorry, he's Kamehameha, but Kahekili and all those others that are all wanting to fight and go to war, whereas he's this standalone guy in his own sort of mana. That makes him even, I guess, even more of the man, because he has a really advanced way of thinking, and he's not thinking about going to war to achieve peace. He just wants peace like now. So I know it's easier to say, but it's harder to achieve that way, and that's where I think, in the next 3 episodes, he's probably got to come to the realization that, so you can't just assume that if you offer peace is going to be achieved. It's got to be achieved with some bloodshed, but how he gets to accepting that bloodshed and how much there's going to be, it'll be interesting to see that part of the show play out in the next 3 episodes.
There's another scene that Kahumanu mentions the dynamics between Kamehameha and Kiana. The scene when she's talking to her father, she's talking to Moku, and she says that Kamehameha is the heart of Hawaii and Kiana is the fist. And I thought her dad was into the whole war thing, but he warns her that you have to be careful that you put these two men together, because that's hard to undo. I didn't get that scene. Did you guys catch that scene? Did you guys understand what he was talking about? It happens near the end.
I missed it, but you think that straight away they've got pretty different ideologies about the way forward as well. So I think that might be the where she's coming, where the father's coming from, because there's almost water and oil in terms of their approaches to stuff, and that could be their undoing in terms of the different philosophies. I wonder how much more Jason Momoa's character is going to be like, yeah, we'll just go the peace, the peace way. He is the chief of war for better or for worse. So his first thought is probably, let's go to war straight away over anything. I know that, and that's quite in conflict with the way that the peaceful Kamehameha wants to do things. So that could be the danger of putting them two together, because you think, I sort of got the vibe, it's hard to tell, but that the men view these peaceful ways as potential weakness. We've got to strike back and do even worse. So when he says, no, we're not going to do anything, and I'm going to actually write a law that says you can't do anything, for guys who have been involved in war their whole lives, that's a bit of a, what are you scared or what's going on type thing, mentality. So that's where it could come into a head, with just different philosophies of having two guys together.
So why did I bring all these guns for?
That's right, because there's that scene when they're practicing, they shooting the guns, and that, I think is, what's the bad guy's name?
Tony.
Tony's teaching the boys how to shoot the muskets. Leonardo DiCaprio pointing scene is the sand dunes at Biffle's Beach.
Yeah.
That scene right there.
I recognize those sand dunes.
Yeah. That was pretty cool scene too. Yeah, that scene. Keoa saying no to the peace, throws the white stone down.
So every time I see scenes with Kiana and Kahumanu in there, I'm thinking, so are these two gonna hook up? It's like she looks at him like in a way, and then he sometimes is a bit shocked when he hears her voice at the council. Oh, it's Kahumanu. Hey. I'm thinking, are these two going to get shipped somehow? It kind of feels that way sometimes.
Well, you don't see any horses, so I guess Kohala and where Kioa is far away. It's far apart. So how many days of walking you have to get there?
Mm.
Probably camp somewhere overnight.
So they walk there faster than, or they walk there slower than it took Jason Momoa to travel from the Philippines back to Hawaii.
We come to the last scene, so we see a ship come to shore, and it's Marley and Captain Metcalf. So Captain Metcalf, I looked him up. He's a real guy. So he's in there. He's in history books. He's done a lot of things in Hawaii. But man, we're talking about all this Game of Thrones stuff going on and scheming going on with the chiefs and the islands plotting against each other, and then the ship comes along and we forget about the Balangis that are gonna come and do some damage. I wonder what they're gonna do. How they fit in this whole thing in, man. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's another spanner in the works, eh?
Because damn sure that they've brought their own guns. So they might want to ally themselves with one of the baddies somehow to go up against Guyana and his guns. I don't know. That could play out.
Yeah. So episode 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got three more episodes to go. Any predictions, Stace?
Yeah, it's tough to say. It is based on historical stuff, so I don't want to get too far ahead with the predictions and then saying the comments like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about" around the history. But I thought that scene between Kahekili and his son, I thought that was a really interesting scene. So how that plays out, because I feel that son is torn between doing the right thing by his father and doing the right thing by his people, because he knows deep down this guy's gone a bit off the rails and this is not the prophecy that we agreed on. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out, because I think in my mind, I feel like there could be a betrayal of the son against the father potentially. Maybe them two he might go against him going forward. So I think that's just a prediction there that I would like to see how that unfolds. And also just that alliance with Kioa and Kahekili. I think that is a bad move. Kahekili, Kioa's sort of, he was slighted and all the rest of it. But now once he's done that, he's told Kahekili that they're divided. Now he's almost become a pawn in someone else's game now. So how that all unfolds, I don't think that's going to end well for Kioa, unfortunately. So yeah, really interested to see how those two unfold.
What would you like to see next episode, Bob?
Yeah, I agree with Stace. Like, there's some patricide happening in the future, man. Like, and it'd be a stink way for Tim to go out, but I have a feeling that his son's probably the only one that could get close enough to him to actually carry it out, right? Like, Tim can see enemies coming a mile away, but he probably has a soft spot for his son, and that might be his weakness, allowing his son to get close enough, past his guards to actually take him out, because then he might still have mana enough to tell his dad's guards, hey, now I'm the new king. Shut up. Don't do anything. What's funny is they didn't really feature Namake in this episode, aside from like a few sort of short scenes. But you can tell that there's real friction now between Kupohi and Kayana, which you kind of saw, like, there's real friction, and she was complaining to him about speaking up against her at the council, and she seems a little bit distant now, and that whole dynamic that was happening between her and Namake and Kayana seems to be, it's starting to play out now in a real negative sort of space, and now she's not looking at Kayana the same, and he's starting to sense something's wrong. But Namake has been the quiet guy in the back, like, not wanting to ruffle any feathers. And so that I was thinking, they kind of haven't really done anything with that dynamic. Like, he came back and then everything kind of just went back to normal. So it's good to see that there's still a little bit of friction, and that sort of loose end still has to be tied off somewhere, and whether or not the sister and the brother tell Kayana, or whether his wife comes clean, or whether Namake comes clean, I don't know. Like, that I think could be a real spanner in Kiana's sort of headspace. If that was to sort of come to light, I don't know what would happen. Would he get angry pants, or I don't know? Because in lots of island cultures, if you died, then your brother would take your wife to continue the bloodline, like it happens in Maori culture. I'm sure it's happened in heaps of other islands as well. So I don't know. It sounds like that's a real westernized thing to. Oh, silly, he slept with your wife, so to create drama when it was probably a real regular ass thing back in the days in the islands, where if you were seen to have died, then sweet, your brother took your wife to look after your kids and continue your bloodline. It was just a normal thing. But now we've got all of this drama around it that's unresolved. So I'm thinking that still needs resolution for me.
Yeah, because she got shut down at that meeting, by Kiana. She was saying, "Oh, he's my cousin. I can talk to him. I can tell him to change his ways." And he's like, "Nah, man, you're not gonna do anything, man."
And then he even shoots her down when they're meeting. I don't trust him. Silly. You brought your negative ass energy, and now my cousin. Silly.
Yeah, Namaki goes, "Fuck, if you were my wife, man, I wouldn't do that to you. Fuck, if it was me,
I've supported you."
These chicks.
All right, boys, coming into the podcast. I just want to touch on the last thing. So, who do you thought won this episode? I'll start with you, Bob.
I touched on it earlier, man. I think the ladies won this episode for me. Like, just their influence on all the main men in this episode. So the ladies for me took it out.
How are you, Stace?
Yeah, there were a lot of good performances. I've got to say, I will go for Cliff Curtis's character Kioa. He feels like a man scorned, so he's gone to desperate measures to try to get what he believes is his rightful thing. So I like what Cliff Curtis said, that he's portraying Kioa as a traditionalist, not really the antagonist, not really the bad guy, and it feels like he's upholding what he believes has been the traditional ways of Hawaii. So you remember that scene where that peace scene we just talked about, he basically mocks Ka'iana and says, "Bro, what are you wearing pants for? Why you got guns for? That's not Hawaiian styles." And his whole thing has been about, this is what we do in Hawaii. I should be getting the God of War. I should be doing this and all the rest of it. So I like the way that he stands up for what he believes in, and standing up for the traditions of Hawaii. He might have gone down the wrong path a little bit with his allegiance, but I just like the fact that he's trying to uphold traditional values of Hawaii. So I'll give him a shout.
Mine is Kupule. I thought he's coming up like a character where you hate him in the beginning, but now after all things happen, he's starting to. I think there's a start of him being a hero character, and if he's the guy that takes down his dad in future episodes, because he's got the backing of the island of all of Maui, because everyone recognizes that his dad has gone mad, and he takes over. He might be a great chief. I don't know. Sure, I never read the history books. I don't know what happens, but I think this is a style of him making him being a great chief, a great leader if he does take over his dad. And of course, second is that crazy guy at the end, because he looked badass just for those few seconds he was on screen, man. Like, damn, I was blown away by his performance. I was like, bro, this guy is gonna be badass next episode, man. See him in action. No fear, guy. Okay, boys, I think that's about us, man, for this episode. Thanks for jumping on. It's good to get you guys' feedback on Chief of War. It's a damn good show, man. I'm loving it. Sad it's gonna end soon. 6, 7, 8, 9, 3 more episodes to go, 3 more weeks to go, and then we're out of here. Wait for season 2 if there will be, which I think there will be. But yeah, man. Thanks for jumping on, boys. We'll see you guys again on Counter Rock and 135 Footy Show. Have a good week.
Cheers, boys.